And what can only be considered as one of the biggest hires of the offseason, Deion Sanders landed one of the best offensive minds in college football and may have just saved the Colorado Buffaloes program again.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. We're also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcasting network in the business. Now, I teased it in the cold open, and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about it a lot, but head coach Deion Sanders may have made the biggest hire of the offseason by bringing in Sac State head coach Brennan Marion to be his OC. I'm going to talk about how Brennan Marion may have fixed Colorado's recruiting issues, and then I'm going to talk about the players that are going to be tampered with from Colorado that I don't think they'll have an issue keeping anymore. Let's dive right into the offensive coordinator issues, right? Colorado's offense was one of the most underwhelming in college football, right? They were expected to be sort of this run and gun sort of run and shoot offense, I guess you could say, where they're fun, they're creative, right? They have Caden Salter, and they're just going to be all of this in a bag of chips, and they end up ranking 111th in total offense, totaling 328 yards per game. They were just super underwhelming with Pat Shurmur calling plays, even with Brent Bartolone calling plays at the end there. It didn't matter because they didn't cater the system to Caden Salter. And I said this as soon as the season ended, and even at times during the season, Deion Sanders had to find an offensive mind who was not only willing to change things, be creative, run the football, but just sort of change it up, right? Colorado's offense was so vanilla, and I think Shedeur Sanders hid a lot of the problems and the lack of, I would say, creativity that Pat Shurmur had. And so what does Deion Sanders do? He goes out and hires Brennan Marion. So if you're not familiar with Brennan Marion, he is one of the creative minds in college football. He has had success pretty much everywhere he's gone. He's a Sac State head coach. This was his first year as the head coach, went 7-5, pretty solid season overall. Didn't really have the performance from Jaden Rashada at quarterback that he would have hoped, and ended up having to turn to a different quarterback. But before that, he was at UNLV, spent 2 seasons there. They went 19-8 when he was the offensive coordinator. In 2024, they ranked 14th in the FBS in points per game at 36.2. They averaged 251.2 yards rushing per game, which was the most for the school in 45 years. He was named a finalist for the offensive coordinator of the year, was named the Mountain West coordinator of the year in 2023. Also, he was the first person in school history, or produced the first person in school history to post 2 1,000-yard seasons with wide receiver Ricky White III, and then Hajj Malik Williams, who was, I would say, a kind of underrated transfer, ended up being the second UNLV quarterback since 1996 to be named all conference. And so he has just done it all. He helped produce Jordan Addison at Pitt. He was one of the main reasons that Jordan Addison blew up like he did. Addison ended up winning the Blitnikoff that year. He coached Xavier Worthy at Texas, and some other guys that he really mentored and like turned into stars, Jaden Mayava at UNLV, and Jaden Thomas, school record 39 rushing touchdowns on the year overall. And at Texas, he was a part of, like I said, an offense, 34.5 points per game. He's literally everything that Colorado needed, right? They're going to run the ball. They're going to be a high-flying, dynamic offense. It's going to attract people to Colorado, recruits, transfers, top-tier transfers who have seen his resume of like guys he's produced. Like Brennan Marion is probably one of the most sought-after. If people knew he was on the market, I would say he was probably one of the most sought-after people in college football. He is just, quite frankly, a dynamic mind. He created the go-go offense, which is, it's a very interesting, it looks weird. They have 2 running backs pretty much in the backfield at all times. Sometimes they'll have them both on the same side of the quarterback. So it'll be 3 guys in a row, essentially, all on the right side of the left side. It prides itself on movement, creativity, just getting the ball to playmakers. And for a Colorado team that really struggled with any sort of creativity, and it was just bubble screens, quick outs. It was just, okay, we've seen that play 30,000 times and it didn't work, right? And although I don't think Julian Lewis is that prototypical dual threat, like this would have been the perfect offense for Caden Salter, honestly, he can make it work with Julian Lewis. I promise you that, right? He has worked with less mobile quarterbacks in the past and made them look really good. And Julian Lewis can scoot when needed. And I think the most important aspect of this hire is the fact that with Deion Sanders' health in question, and I mean, Deion Sanders says he wants to continue coaching, and I don't doubt that. But if Deion Sanders, for whatever reason, decides that, like, hey, maybe I don't want to coach anymore, Brennan Marion would be the perfect coach in waiting, right? That'd be the perfect passing of the baton because, one, he's going to attract top recruits. He's going to attract top transfers. But two, he's paid his dues, right? Brennan Marion's resume is quite impressive if you just look at where he's been. He started off at West Valley, which is a JC in California, wide receivers coach there, was a high school wide receivers coach the next year and the year after that. In 2014, got his first head coaching job at the high school level at Waynesboro area high school. Went to Arizona State as a quality offensive control analyst, running backs coach at Oklahoma Baptist, William Mary offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, Howard offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. Same job at William and Mary, Hawaii wide receivers coach, Pitt wide receivers coach, and they let him call some plays here and there. And then Texas passing game coordinator, wide receivers coach, UNLV offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, and then lastly, Sac State. So he has paid his dues. Some amazing quotes about him. This is from Gus Malzahn, who's at Florida State this year. Thrilled to see Brennan named the head coach at Sac, and this is when he was named the head coach. From coaching him in college, it was clear that he had something special about him. He is a rising star in a profession. I look forward to following his continued success. Kenny Pickett, who he coached at Pitt when when Jordan Addison popped off, Kenny Pickett said, Coach Marion is one of the best coaches that I've ever had the pleasure to work with. His ability to connect with players and get the best out of them was evident since the first day we worked together at Pitt. I'm excited for him. And then this was Purdue head coach Barry Odom, who was the UNLV head coach last year. But Coach Marion is a star in the profession. His experience will put the program on the fast track for great success. Now, all of this was obviously when he was at UNLV. And I mean, I'd have to go back in the archives, but I do think he was one of my dream scenario hires. He's someone that I threw out frequently because he's creative, he's exciting, he's fun, he's cool, he's young. And I think a lot of recruits will gravitate towards him. I just do. I think although Colorado had that whole thing where it was like, he was that guy, right? He was that guy of like, Colorado had that thing of like, we have those NFL guys. I was talking about the NFL pedigree thing. We had the gold jackets, the NFL experience, right? They had that and it was cool until it wasn't, right? It stopped working. Colorado's offense went stale. They weren't really tapping into the weapons that they had. And that will no longer be a problem. And you know what else won't be a problem with Brennan Marion in Boulder? Recruiting. I think Colorado's recruiting is about to see a major boost, which they greatly need. But we're going to talk about that after a quick break. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Aura Frames. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap, it's a way to share memories. Because Aura isn't your average picture frame, you can preload the frame with photos before getting it, so when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. I actually gave this to my mom last year for Christmas because she's hard to shop for. She's one of those people that they don't ask for much, and when they do want something, they just get it themselves. And you know what? I was like, you know what my mom loves is pictures. She's taken pictures of me my entire life, and she's always saying that she's going to put them into albums, and those albums never really came to fruition. So Aura Frames is the best way to give someone a photo album. It cycles through, so like it could just go from picture to picture. You could also put in videos, and you can also send personalized messages in them, so they'll sort of feel touched from the moment they get it. From a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframe.com to get $35 off Aura Frame's best-selling carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter by using promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's AURA frames.com, promo code COLLEGE. The deal is exclusive to listeners and frames sell out fast. So order yours now to get in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. The Locked On Podcast Network is the number one sports podcasting network in the business. So you don't want to miss out on any of our coverage. Let's talk about recruiting issues. Colorado has them because I don't think they have the staff in place that's really recruiting savvy. And I think that's from the top to the bottom. I think Deion Sanders could easily be one of the best recruiters if he wanted. But I do think he sort of heavily leaned on being Deion Sanders to draw recruits in. And over the past year or so, I would say they turned more and more to the transfer portal. And that allure of being Deion Sanders didn't necessarily have the same effect that it did in the first year. And I mean, Deion Sanders made it clear he values the portal more than recruiting. That being said, his staff has let him down when it comes to some of the biggest recruits, right? They've missed on countless recruits that would have helped change the trajectory of the program. They do have some hits there. They have Julian Lewis, Omarion Miller, Jordan Seaton. And I think Brennan Marion's hiring will really elevate Colorado right now, because if you look at 24/7 Sports' recruiting rankings, Colorado currently ranks 103rd in the composite ranking. So it went down actually from when I talked about it yesterday. It went down. They only signed 11 guys on the first day of signing, or the first couple days of signing day. But if you'll look at number 77, Sacramento State, Brennan Marion. The Hornets have the number one recruiting class in the FCS. They have a ton of guys that were, I would say, borderline P4 guys, and I would expect quite a few of them to follow him to Sac State. But the most notable, Xavier McDonald. He was a 4-star out of Mississippi, was long projected to go to Ole Miss and LSU. Those were sort of the favorites. He's a Mississippi guy, ends up going to Sac State, didn't sign, 6'2.5", 160 pounds. I think he's a guy that you should look out for. They also brought in a guy and he recruits all over the country, right? He got a guy like Kaishan Robinson out of Miami, Florida, 3-star, borderline 4-star safety. Boise State, Colorado offered him. Cincinnati offered him, right? Florida State, Florida, Kentucky, Nebraska, USC all offer this kid, and he ended up at Sac State. So Brennan Marion, just by having an exciting offense, just by being a young and exciting head coach, he is a guy that, I mean, he could really, really elevate Colorado to a recruiting power. I already thought that Deion Sanders alone, even with the staff that he had prior to today, even with that staff, I thought he could be a top 5 recruiter in college football. But with him and Marion, I think if and when they try to recruit, that could be the best recruiting duo in college football. I'm not even joking, right? They both appeal to young athletes, right? Deion Sanders, best corner of all time, right? He's in touch with the youth, I would say. He still gets what's going on, right? He's a cultural icon. He has a signature shoe, and he's just as popular as they come. Brennan Marion, offensive savant. He is a young coach who connects with receivers. He's got a laundry list of just names that he's helped produce and help shine at the next level. Like Brennan Marion and Deion Sanders could very well be, I would say, the most exciting and probably the best recruiting duo in college football if they want to be. And I think this move from Deion Sanders sort of sets up Colorado for the future. I don't think Colorado, even if they hired Brennan Marion before signing day, I don't know if it would have been enough time to really go all in on recruiting this class. But for that 2027 class, I fully expect Colorado to be full steam ahead, recruiting a lot harder. And in my eyes, and I know this is sort of a weird comparison because obviously this other coach was a lot more accomplished. I think this is somewhat of a Bob Stoops, Lincoln Riley potential situation where Deion Sanders, if and when he wants to give up coaching, can pass the baton to Brennan Marion, and he could just sort of make the program his, right? He could sort of operate under a program that's going to give him the leeway that he's going to want. They're going to let him sort of brand himself, and Brennan Marion does brand himself. He has the go-go stuff and all that. Similar to Deion Sanders has the Prime brand and stuff. So I think this could very much be a Bob Stoops, Lincoln Riley situation where it's head coach OC until the head coach decides to move on. So I firmly believe that Brennan Marion is going to revitalize Colorado's offense. I firmly believe he's going to possibly be the coach in waiting. And I also think he could be the key to the recruiting problems, right? Because Colorado's not going to outspend Ohio State, Alabama, Texas. But playing for Deion Sanders and playing for an offensive mind like Brennan Marion could change everything for the Colorado Buffaloes and could really make them a hotbed for recruits and sort of jumpstart what has been an underwhelming sort of recruiting, I guess, experience over the past year or so. Because, I mean, Brennan Marion, it's hard to really fathom that Colorado was able to get him. Some other names that I saw linked to this job was Jerry Neuheisel at UCLA, who took over play calling after they moved on from, I think it was Tino Sinceri, and he led UCLA to victories over Penn State and a couple other teams, and he was a hot name. And then Blake Anderson was also another name. And Blake Anderson, I mean, similar to Jerry Neuheisel, those were both like hot names. And I want to credit Liam Blutman from Barstool of all places. He was the one that was like, Colorado's interviewing a splashy candidate or something. And I assumed, from what I gathered, Jerry Neuheisel was one of them. Like, from what I was being told and sort of what I was gathering, Jerry Neuheisel was one of them. But Brennan Marion felt like a pipe dream, right? That was not really someone I expected to, I guess, take that leap. And then Blake Anderson, he's currently, or he was at Utah State. He was at Arkansas State as well. Also a very, very respected play caller. So Deion Sanders truly saw, I think, a lot of the criticism. He saw a lot of the feedback that many people, including myself, were giving to him, that like, hey, you need to bring in someone who understands the college game from not only a play calling perspective, but from a recruiting perspective. And Deion Sanders took that note to heart, and he said, you know what? And he admitted that he was still the guy for Colorado, and he admitted that he made some mistakes. Maybe not in the way that most people wanted, but Deion Sanders was like, you know what? Like, I could be doing better. And I think him hiring Brennan Marion is him doing better. It's him sort of admitting like, hey, you know what? I tried this whole gold jacket, like NFL 33rd team kind of vibe, and it didn't work out. And now he's fully committed to the college game. And I think I don't think there's a better hire in college football, even from a head coaching perspective. Lane Kiffin, James Franklin, don't care. I think this is a hire that revitalizes a program that otherwise looked like it was trending in the wrong direction. When we come back, I think Brennan Marion also may have solved Colorado's tampering issues from other programs, but we're going to take a quick break. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. Let's talk FanDuel, because NFL Sundays, they move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game. You're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets on that as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live bets is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. They let you jump into the moments where player props are, it's like, oh, my quarterback just threw 3 touchdowns, or, oh, my quarterback is throwing 10 completions in a row. I got to get in this. And FanDuel is the perfect place to do it, because if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow. We're part of the Locked on Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcasting network in the business. Let's talk tampering. Do I think Brennan Marion's going to help Colorado with tampering? Yes, but not in the way that you're probably like, what is he talking about? I think Jordan Seaton, I think Julian Lewis, Omarion Miller, Tafiq Bayard, London Merritt, Alexander McPherson, Yaya Atia. I think those guys were probably all receiving or going to receive calls from other programs going, hey, Colorado's headed nowhere. get on board, get out of there, so that way you could save whatever you have left, or like blah blah blah. We'll boost your draft stock. Like I think Brennan Marion just reinvigorated the Colorado program. Like this feels very 23-esque for Colorado, where it's like there's going to be buzz around the Buffs next season. Like when they open on the road at Georgia Tech, I promise you that game's going to be a marquee television game for ESPN. It's probably going to be it's Friday night again. It's probably going to be ESPN's late window or whatever, but it's going to be in a marquee window. People all over college football are going to be watching because they want to see a team coached by Deion Sanders with one of the best offensive play callers in college football. I think if you're Julian Lewis, having a play caller who's helped produce Biletnikoff winners, who's helped enhance quarterback performance, like Haj Malik, we'll go to UNLV because I do think that was one of his better jobs. He also, and I forgot, someone reminded me about this. He was the coach at Howard when they upset UNLV as like 45-point underdogs with Cam Newton's little brother at quarterback, and they absolutely torched him. So Brendan Marion, he's a game changer. So last year when Matthew Sluka, who he somehow made look good, Brendan Marion made Matthew Sluka look good. He's the backup at James Madison, completed 43% of his passes last year, made him look good. Haj Malik Williams, though, took over as the starter after a career at Campbell that was quite impressive, and 19 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions, 1,900 yards passing, 1,900 yards passing. He also rushed for 851 yards, 9 touchdowns. Like if you're Julian Lewis, you're looking at the guy's track record, Kenny Pickett, and you're going, okay, I could work with this. Like I think Julian Lewis was saying all the right things, but I think had Colorado whiffed on that hire at offensive coordinator, I think it would have been tough to really keep Julian Lewis and other people excited. Now, I'm not saying Julian Lewis would have left, but I do think that Colorado, like this prevents you from having to worry about that. Jordan Seaton, same thing. I saw a former Texas player tampering with him online, not really tampering, but tweeting at him going, hey, there's nothing left for you in Boulder. Come to Texas, come develop, come go to the NFL, right? There's a lot of that. Omarion Miller, I'm sure a lot of people were connecting him to LSU because he's a Louisiana guy. Lane Kiffin's there. Omarion is probably one of the best, if not will be, I would say he's probably a top 5 receiver in college football next year heading into the season. And I think a lot of people know that, and a lot of people were going to try to pry him away from Colorado. I think Brennan Marion's hire solely, I think, shoos that away because I think a lot of programs know they can't compete with that. It's like, okay, well, this guy is going to play in an exciting offense and play for one of the best offensive coaches in college football while also playing for Deion Sanders. Like, we can't compete with that. So Colorado, although they're not going to outspend programs for Jordan Seaton or Omarion Miller or Julian Lewis, they have a level of connection with those guys from them being on the team, but they also have like a reinforcement of like, hey, we made the changes. Like this year was truly a down year. Deion Sanders, and I'll admit, I was kind of questioning where he was going to go with this hire just because it felt like he was really committed to his ways of being the NFL sort of team where it's like, we have NFL experience and that's what we do. I was questioning it. And I thought that could end up causing them to lose a handful of guys, but guess what? It didn't. And Colorado is in a tremendous position because you still have a couple days left of early signing day. You have until tomorrow. So I expect a few flips from Sac State, like the top recruit I mentioned who picked Sac State over Ole Miss and other SEC teams. I think he's very much in play for the Buffs. There's a safety out of Miami. Like there's just a lot of excitement that could come Colorado's way in the next coming days. Like these are the guys who are committed but not signed to Sac State. Xavier McDonald, 6'3" wide receiver out of Mississippi, 4-star recruit. Kaishawn Robinson, safety out of Miami. Carter Meeks, Central Catholic. Oh, shout out to Central Catholic. Modesto, California, 3-star running back, 6'2", 193. Pretty under-recruited. Nevada, Portland State, San Diego State came after him, but guess what? Still went to Sac State because of you-know-who. Jalen Whitaker, Cathedral out of Los Angeles, California. He had some pretty big offers. New Mexico is an exciting team. Colorado State, Montana, and he ended up committing to Sac State. And even the guys that signed with Sac State could end up just changing their minds. Like the guy I'm eyeing right now, they have a few offensive linemen. They have Roger Vanderhoof, who's 6'7", 382 out of Sacramento. They have a defensive lineman by the name of Federico Mario Curubio out of San Jose. He's 6'3", 280. They have a guy, their top recruit in the class that's signed, Marquez Wimberly, running back. had offers from Florida A&M, Kent State, Old Dominion, bigger schools in Sacramento, interest from Oregon, interest from Penn State, offer from Syracuse. I think Brennan Marion is going to keep a lot of guys in Boulder, and he's going to attract even more. So Deion Sanders, well done. I think a lot of people doubted you. I had myself had some doubts, and I think you absolutely nailed this hire. Can't wait to see what other moves Colorado makes and see how transcendent this offense is for the Buffs. So I'm Kevin Borba, host of Locked On Buffs. I appreciate all of you in the live for tuning in. I appreciate all of you for listening, watching, whatever it is. This has been a home run hire, and this has been another episode of Locked On Buffs.